Welcome to the Barbell Strikes Back. I'm James McDermott, and I'm joined by co-host Miguel Porter, the two-time New York State champion, Arnold Classic bronze medalist. Miguel, how you doing?
I'm good. Good. Closing out an eventful weekend.
It is. It was a very busy weekend. We were just talking about that. We said goodbye, or maybe see you later to Nicole Derby, Albany CrossFit member, because she's moving to Colorado Springs, Colorado, for a new job opportunity. So we did a big farewell workout for her yesterday,
Yeah.
and that went well. That was a coaching PR for you.
Yeah, biggest class so far. Um, yeah, with a kind of a new-ish WOD, no like cap lesson plan along with it. So kind of went with my own kind of dealings there.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. At some point, I'm kind of like on the fence about the cap lesson plan thing. I think it's a good thing if you can look at it and start to learn lesson planning. Okay, I need to have a general warm up, specific warm up. I need to figure out what the intended stimulus is. But I do think that, especially for newer coaches, it could become a crutch where you don't know how to do those things because they're always done for you. So I
Right.
think this is a great opportunity for you to sit down and be like, okay, what am I going to do with the other 30 minutes of this hour? Because it was a 30-minute AMRAP.
Yeah, and thankfully as time has gone on, I've been able to do the same with like the cap lesson plans where I see some of maybe it's just movements that they put into the general warm up or maybe even the specific, and I'll change the order. I'll take something completely out, but I'll maybe keep the time frame around the same general kind of realm. But it's a good kind of starting point. And then I can even use that on a workout like this where there was no actual cap, but kind of use those steps that they give you.
Yeah, you start to learn different styles of general warm-ups. Okay, I could do something with a Tabata timer. I can do a little AMRAP or maybe a partner warm-up like you did. Because you did two stations, one partner, because it was a partner workout. It was a
Right.
30-minute AMRAP with a partner. So you got them in groups right away, which I thought was great. Just get that done beginning of the class. And then one partner stretches while the other partner moves dynamically. Maybe one partner's doing Spider-Man lunges, the other partner's doing jumping jacks. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, and it that was the best way with that kind of class size to just not have everyone also too spread out. I kind of wanted to make it precise, everyone just in two lines, be with your partner at all times so that we can just keep track of everything and kind of, yeah, partnering them up early on helped me with getting equipment. Partner one grabs this, partner two grabs that, partner one does this, partner two does that for the rest of the class.
Yeah, and I thought for the warm up too, you assigned a number of reps to the dynamic movement, and the cue to switch roles was when the one partner was done doing, let's say, 30 jumping jacks. So while I'm doing 30 jumping jacks, you're doing Spider-Man lunges, and then we switch. I go to you, we swap spots, and I think something for you to realize is that I think athletes appreciate that when everything's uniform and organized the way you had it, instead of like, all right, everybody's spread out and it's such a big
Yeah.
group and they're not in partnerships. Do you appreciate that when you're in a class when it's like organized like that and a little flow?
Yeah. And I think I would say I'm pretty well behaved when it comes to me being coached, I would say. But yeah, it's nice to have some order and have everyone in precise spots. I don't always love the like dots on the floor because I just feel that as adults, we should all be able to go to spots that in my head make sense. But yeah, it's nice to have everyone kind of in exact locations. If you're on this side of the room, you're doing this. If you're on that side of the room, you're doing that. It makes sense.
Yeah. Time and a place for dots. Not every gym has dots. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. Uh, when you said that meme of Michael Jordan, and I took that personally, popped into my head because I'm all about the dots and the cones. Sometimes it helps to spell it out for people during the open. Oh yeah, like we got these
Yeah,
lanes,
yeah.
these stations. And then other times where it's like I want the rowers or bikes to be set in like as uniform a circle as possible, because having 14 people make a perfect circle is a challenge on its own. But no, yeah, other times for sure, just designate zones. If you're here, you're doing this. If you're over there, you're doing that. And I thought you did a very good job planning that out. Now, you said before the workout, I don't like going over. And we went a smidge over on the hour. We were about 15 minutes over. So
Yeah, I once we started, there was no shot. Um,
actually, you had a shot. You, I'll tell you the precise moment where the wheels fell off. Whiteboard brief, awesome. Everybody knows what's going on. General warm up, awesome. Energy through the roof. It was organized. They were going already in partnerships. They already did a practice run too. So that's the route. Everyone knows. Then we got the wall balls. We got the boxes. Still on track. Perfect. They traded off 5 wall balls, 5 burpee step up, 5 wall ball, 5 burpee box jump. It was beautiful. Perfect amount of reps. Everyone's flowing. And then it fell apart with the weights, the dumbbells and the kettlebells.
right.
As soon as I heard you say get a light one, I was like, oh no. And then when you had half the group get the dumbbells and go to one side, and half the group get the kettlebells and do the other side, and then you only coached one half of the room and the others are just watching. I was like, we just went over. Like we
Yeah.
just went over 15 to 20 minutes, I said in my head. And then I was thinking famous last words. I hate going over. But that was the moment. If I was going to give you any
Yeah.
feedback, it would be to just I would have had them get their kettlebells, get their dumbbells. This is where it lives. You could still split them up if you want to. And then everybody hit 5 Russian, everybody hit 5 American, do the snatches. I wouldn't have said yesterday was a day for teaching. I think yesterday was a day for fun. Let's go. They're only going to touch the kettlebell once.
Right.
So what are we doing here? And it was a fairly experienced group, except for one person who's a little bit newer. But I think that being said, if that's where the wheels fell off, I appreciate the effort to teach. Like I think like for you
Yeah.
trying to do it, it was good, but you could definitely pinpoint the moment where not only were you on track now to go over, but also I will say the energy went down too during
Yeah.
that part.
Yeah. And that was kind of what I was wrestling with, trying to get this all together was how much am I really going to teach them these movements? Or what do I want them to get out of it? How can I kind of warm them up with the movement and also have them move in the way that I would like them to move during the workout? But again, it was such a long workout where, you're with your partner and you're doing certain things that maybe you don't have to go step by step. They still wanted to see certain things that I really wanted to kind of just brush through. But yeah, that was definitely the moment for me as well, where as the room kind of got set up and implements were getting brought into the room, you could kind of see now, like, this is the space that we have. How exactly will I have to switch this up now? And yeah, that was the best I could think of in the moment. And as I was doing it, I completely did not love it, but yeah, we
And then
just had to go along
we
with
still
it.
had to do the sit-ups after that too, which
Right, which I
that's
had
where
no plan to do, honestly.
yeah. That
I
so
had no plan to do the sit-ups.
to so to everything in hindsight, right? And it was still a fantastic class. Everybody was happy. No one died. Everybody got a good workout. Okay, we went 15 over. It's Saturday morning, you know. But if we were to like look back now on like what we could have tweaked, you could have maybe demoed that sit up at the beginning, like right at the board. Hey, someone partner up with me. That's what you're going to do later. Have your ab mats, up on the rig pole. They're out of the way. Well, cool. Everyone knows what we got there. If you weren't going to have them do that movement, I would say that'd probably be the one movement where it'd be okay. You don't need to touch it,
Yeah.
especially again, since they're only going to do it once. And by the time they get there, they're pretty warm and everything like that. I love what you did with the wall ball and the box. And I'm glad you took my advice to get the squishy stuff first,
Right.
because if you had all the hard stuff in the entranceway, that means they have to walk through it holding a box. That's So that's why that's always in my head on like what's the flow and progression of getting the equipment. But I think what you could have done too is, and this is something for you to think about for the future. I want to teach. Can I still teach and still move along and also factor in the day? Maybe instead of teaching how to reset the kettlebell and do so many sets, you could have had partner number one stand in front of the box, partner number two stand by the kettlebell facing the box. All right, partner on the box, you're going to give me 10 Russian swings, and I want you to focus on squeezing your hips as hard as you can on every rep. And then that's what you're looking for. That's what they're thinking about. Partner number two is like, oh, hips. I'm thinking about squeezing my hips. Then we switch. And then you go through it again like that. Then you go back to the American swing. Partner one's on there. All right, we're going overhead. This is what we're doing today, unless you need to scale. I want you to squeeze those hips and give me a hard punch and lock that kettlebell out. And then you're going through and you're giving cues. Hey, Mo, lock out that arm. Hey, Nate, squeeze your butt. And you're still coaching, but you're keeping it really simple
Right.
and really focused for the day. And more than likely, the things you're going to be telling them what to do during the workout too. You're going to have 30 minutes to get eyes on them and do a lot of coaching in that too. So that would be how I would have maybe have approached it. You could have even had them get both pieces of equipment. The dumbbell lives on the box while all this is going on. All right, now guys, it's time to bring out the dumbbell. Let's put those kettlebells in the rig. It's out of the way. Now dumbbells center stage. And then you could do, I'll maybe just do one set on the dumbbell.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that would just be an idea of how can we teach, coach, and be time efficient in a workout that's going to take 30 minutes, and I only have 30 minutes to get everything else in. I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
Yeah. And part of it is honestly probably my, I would say inexperience, but by saying that I mean the fact that I'm a newer coach. I think it's almost like a proving yourself type of deal
Hmm.
where I know how to coach, so I want to coach.
Yeah.
I don't want to skip the coaching piece and have everyone think, which is I know is absurd, but have everyone think that, oh, I don't know how to coach this. So maybe it's like me trying to shoehorn coaching in to kind of show that, yeah, I know how to coach. I know how to bring you through these movements. Um, yeah, because I agree. I don't think that for the day we really needed to go through, you know, deadlifting the dumbbell and all of
Yeah.
that to move
And
on.
and I mean, when we think of coaching, the coaching doesn't stop after the kettlebell progression. Like you should be in there like tactile cues, verbal cues, visual cues, the whole like when the cool thing that happened is that the entire class somehow scaled and modified and went at a pace where they were all moving on to the round at almost the same time.
Yeah,
It was very cool. That was a very cool thing that happened where everybody did the first run. They all went through the burpee box jump overs, and then they all pretty much finished around the same time and went for the next run. Then they all came. It was almost like a perfect layup to like, hey, you're going to coach this now and only this, you know.
right.
So during that point, you're looking at the box, you're looking for safety, nothing's around, making sure people are turning and stepping, making sure people are getting their chest down, any other things that you want to add to the box. But then when they all go off to the run, now you're in wall ball mode and only wall ball mode. You're like, what? And then you have the things like, what am I looking for? Depth on the squat. Are they getting all the other squat mechanics out? Are they hitting the target? Things like that. And of course, keeping the energy high and just having fun with people.
Yeah. And yeah,
So
everyone had fun during the workout, and it was nice to have everyone close together throughout the workout to kind of egg people on to go a little bit faster because you're right with another team and things like
yeah,
that.
and it was cool. It was almost like everybody was doing the workout with Nicole,
Yeah.
since they were all pretty much grouped together. So that was awesome. So yeah, I think, again, you did a fantastic job. It was the biggest group you've had to coach so far, 14 people, and not an easy task with such a dynamic wad, a workout that could be very confusing. So I'll just say it's a 30-minute AMRAP, run 400 meters together with your partner, which I'm glad you really harped on people to not blow past your partner because the word
Yeah.
together is there for a reason. And then you do 40 reps of a new movement every round. So round one was burpee box jump overs. Round two was the kettlebell snatch, or no, the dumbbell snatch, right?
I believe it
No, no,
was
no. It was
the
the wall
partner
ball.
wall balls. Yeah.
Yep. Partner to partner wall ball. So there you go. We have a more complicated wall ball than normal where you have to arc it to your partner. Then you came back and then you had to do the snatches. Then you had to do the sit-ups. Then you had to do the kettlebell swings. And there's 5 rounds right there. So I remember someone, I think it was Christina at the beginning of class, like, how do you score this? Well, each of the movements was a round. So actually, when I said 1 to 3, everybody got 5 plus. So I was indeed correct.
Well, if that's what you meant.
That's what I'm saying. I mean now, because I still agree with your original answer of fun. Like that is the intended stimulus today. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's just to have a good time with Nicole before she goes and do a unique workout experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would just be my advice to you would be to look at each workout like it's its own different thing, and then understand that some things you're going to do on some days and other things you're not going to do on other days. And it doesn't mean you're not coaching. It just depends on the day, on how far into the weeds you're going to go with something.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
we have a workout coming up in 2 weeks where it's 3 push jerks, 1 split jerk. That's a big teaching day. Like that's a day where you're spending time, you're teaching the push jerk, but then you also have to teach the split jerk. So you're going to spend a lot of time like doing what you did on Saturday. But then if you have a workout that's like 40 minutes of all these things, then it's going to be like, all right, you're going to touch upon them and you're going to give coaching in a different way. And coaching isn't only that part of the progression. It keeps going,
Yeah.
after that. But you're going to give them little nuggets. All right, it's a kettlebell swing. I need you to do 2 things right now. Keep doing those 2 things. And then if there are little nuancy errors that come up, then you try to fix them. But I think as well, still being new to this, focus on the big things, and then you'll start to see the little things even more if you really get good at seeing the big things.
Yeah.
So great job. Great
Yeah.
job.
I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah. And you got some spicy partner workouts coming up too in the
Yeah.
coming weeks. You're pretty much on partner workout day.
Yeah.
So that's like group management and energy, and all that. And Saturday morning too. So you got to wake people up. It's a great day to like really, cut your teeth on doing a lot of this stuff. So good luck, Nicole. We will miss you, but I know we will see you again soon. Shaaf was there. He did the workout. Mike buried him on the burpee box jump overs a little bit. That was fun.
Indeed.
I don't know why, but I enjoyed it. Because at first I was surprised. I was like, why did they decide to do sets of 20? And then I realized why. It's because Mike is fine doing sets of 20. But then that also means he's got to hold the plank for way longer while he waits for Shaaf to fight through him. So that was great. But Shaaf, the week before, did the Murder Crows Open, and he had a fantastic performance.
Yeah, very nice.
Yep. He went 3 for 3 on the snatch, and then he went 2 for 3 on the clean and jerk. And on his final attempt, set a PR of 137 kilos, which is a smidge over 300 pounds. And you and I know, and actually we've mentioned it on the podcast many, many times, this has been a goal of his, 300 pounds, for like what, 5 years? Like forever.
Yeah.
I think since joining the barbell club. I want to say when he told me like what his goal PR is, like in like 2017 or whatever that was, it was probably 300 pounds.
Mhm.
He almost got it at the Arnold. We talked about that a couple shows ago. He had that heartbreaker of just dropping it back behind him, and now he got it. What did you think about his performance in that lift?
Yeah, it was great. To me, it's like maybe I'm not as excited because I know what he's capable of. It's interesting to watch your teammates compete because you know to an extent what they're capable of. And for him, it was kind of I'm happy he got it because I know now it kind of opens another door for him to further surpass that. You kind of have to beat certain numbers as you go through in time, and once you finally beat that number, you'll keep on PRing past it.
Yeah, I think for a long time, 137 has been the goal, but also the mental ceiling because that's where you placed it. So it's like, okay, yeah, I didn't get it, and I've tried it 50 times and I haven't got it. So like I'm just below that, but
Right.
now there's kind of an unknown on like, well, what is the next number now? Like, what are you going to set it to? I would set it pretty high,
Yeah.
because before 137 was pretty high. When he first joined the barbell club, I think his clean and jerk was maybe around 100, somewhere's around that. I think his first meet he did 100. Yeah, at his first meet he did 100. He snatched 80 and clean jerked 100. And then in training, maybe a little more than that. So that was back in 2019. That was his first meet or one of them. So yeah, that's a long time. That's what's 5 years. And that's been the ceiling for 5 years. At first, we're chasing it,
Yeah.
but then we're like right there. And it's like, what am I going to do for those extra couple kilos?
Yeah.
Do you have any numbers like that? And what do you think about that concept of like when you set a goal and you're pretty far away with it, it gives you runway, but at a certain point, it almost becomes a limiter unless you finally hit it.
Yeah, I've definitely had numbers like that, to be completely honest. Not to be like I'm done, but I've hit those numbers a while ago. But I've had so many times where I think for a long time it was a 175-pound snatch when we were still working with pounds. And then yeah, it was a number that I could clearly hit, but every time we got up to it, it just felt different.
Yeah.
Once you put your hands down on the bar, it feels different automatically. And missing that for months and months and months, maybe years, and then the next one was 85 kilos for the snatch. I think clean and jerk 100 or like 225 was always kind of the goal. And yeah, once I got there, now I really don't have number goals. Of course, like I guess 100 kilos in the snatch is like the next thing, as I'm in the 90s currently. So that's the next thing, but I don't necessarily put those numbers on like this is what I want to get. The assumption for me now is that I will get there.
Yeah. Well, and 100 is like that's everybody's universal goal.
Yeah.
Like everybody, like it's like a stepping stone.
Yeah.
It's like most people will hit it if they can get up there, or they'll like just surpass it, and then it becomes part of their thing. But that's like one of those numbers. It's like a mythical, magical number. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you got to snatch 100, but first, before you snatch 100, you want to clean it and clean jerk it too.
Yeah.
So I think that could possibly be a situation of when you hit 100, all of a sudden it kicks open a big door because now you're deep into the 90s and we're getting more comfortable with the 90s, but then there's still times where even the 90s are hard.
Yeah.
But I think once you're up there at 100, you're like, well, there is a thing with like triple digits and double
Mhm.
digits, you know. So that'll be interesting to see for sure how that kind of goes. And I
Yeah.
think it's okay to not have number goals and just kind of lift and go with the flow of the sport too.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking at it now. Um, Maybe like total goals, but that then you break it down and you're like, what's the easiest way for me to get a 220 total? And
Snatch
you
100
know,
and yeah.
right. For me, snatch 100, clean and jerk 120. Um, but yeah.
Yeah.
And Shaaf's performance, I think it was a good mental performance as well.
Yeah.
Or I would say like momentum wise, one within the competition to hit all three of your snatches pretty easily, and then going to the clean and jerks with that confidence high, and then now with a good performance at this meet going into his next meets going forward.
Yeah. That was I had a coaching goal going into this on the snatches are mine. I own them. So they're going to be lighter than normal.
Yeah.
Normally we wouldn't open Shaaf with 96, but I wanted consistency on the snatch. I wanted to make 3 snatches. It had been too long since we've made all of our snatches in a competition, and we've had way too many 1 out of 3s. Even 2 out of 3s are they're like middle of the road, but we had way too many 1 out of 3s, where we're just burning attempts, we're hitting a weight and then going for the PR, and it's like it's not there, and the reason it's not there is because we keep trying to take this giant big jump that if you want it, my thing with like getting to certain weights in competition is if you want it, opening heavier is part of earning it,
Yep.
as opposed to opening up at, let's say, if you want to hit 130, you open up at like something absurd like 110, and then you have to take these giant jumps. Like there's better ways to get there and set yourself up for it. But we'd kind of been in just this funk with the snatch. So I was like, I want to shake that off. Let's get 3 for 3. And so we went 96, 99, and then I think we went 102, right? Was it 102 or 103? I think it was 102. Nope, it was 103. I think it was 103. So I let him take a slightly bigger jump there because I was confident we can get it. But if you watch the video, we are right at the cusp of, had it been 104 or more, he either would connect with it and is going to walk it forward, or it'll just fall in front. Because
Right.
if you watch that last snatch right off the floor, it was a done deal. If it's any heavier than that, he's not going to pull it back. And of course, if he's not, that would have probably been a training miss because, like, of course, there's the adrenaline. It's New York City. It was Kate and Alex are in the crowd watching. Shout out Kate and Alex. I do acknowledge that Alex was there. He was, as he says I don't. It's not that I don't acknowledge that Alex was there. It's just this was about Shaaf. All of my attention is on Shaaf. I'm thinking about Shaaf, and that includes a little bit after too. I love you, Alex. I love you, but it was Shaaf's day, you know. But does that make sense? You can kind of see that was the upper limit, and that's that range right there, 103 to 106, which 106 is his PR, is a range that we've been battling on, and that when we get to there, he's going to kick a little off the floor, and it'll just be here.
Right.
So I just wanted to hit 3 lifts and get right as close to it as we can, and we did. And then on the clean jerks, essentially it was whatever he wanted. Like originally, I was going to claim the clean jerks too and open him up at 124 and just take 3 kilo jumps again, and let's go for a 6 for 6 day, knowing that if we got to 130, that's still a heavy lift for him, and it would still be a lot of work. But then he said in training that he wanted 131, and I was all right, cool, because he was looking good for it. We didn't have a lot of those sessions where we're just deadlifting it,
Right.
leading into it. So he proved in training that 131 would be okay. And I always know that when it comes to clean jerk, especially, Shaaf always turns it up a little bit on the clean jerks, and we had the smelling salts too. And so yeah, it was a great day. He missed 137 on his second attempt, and then he got it on his third attempt.
Pretty
Great day.
convincingly as well.
Yeah, I think if he would have got it on his second attempt, we were going to go 140,
Yeah.
definitely. And I think he would have a great
Yeah.
shot at 140. I think if he cleaned it, the chances of him making the jerk, I think, were high.
Yep.
So yeah, that was my mindset going into it, and I think it worked out well, and I hope it gives him a little bit of a boost in confidence, both the snatch performance and the clean and jerk performance. I know, like, we really hyped up the clean and jerk performance, but the snatch performance was important too.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. I love your comment too. What did you say?
Decent work.
Decent work. Yep. Yep. No period. No emoji.
Yeah, I
No.
mean,
No.
the original comment that I fully typed in was finally, but I decided to give him a a Miguel compliment.
Yeah. It was a good Miguel comment. Was your finally going to have a period or maybe an exclamation point? Like you're excited?
Definitely not an exclamation point. It
Okay.
may have just been a flat finally.
Just an open-ended finally.
Yeah.
Lowercase or capital F?
Capital F, capital F.
Okay, we'll capitalize it. All right. He's still getting compliments on it too.
Yeah, as he should.
Yeah.
It's a big lift.
A big lift. I mean, that's definitely something like we don't really think about this often, but not everyone does this. Like uh at any point, Shaaf could be at the grocery store and he's the only person that can pick up 300 pounds and put it overhead in the entire day.
Yeah.
And then if you think about just the amount of people in the world that have ever clean and jerked 135 or 300 pounds, it's he's still in a theoretical small group, right?
Definitely.
It's just a cool thing to think about. Like the things that weightlifters do and people of all different sports do are so amazing. Like you're doing incredible things with your body that so few people have done. We're just really used to it because we see it every day.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
so it's a cool thing to think about. Do you ever think about that when you're in a grocery store? You're like, I'm the strongest person in here right now.
Yeah, actually fairly often at work. Yeah, I know for sure. I'm walking in and I'm like, pound for pound, there's no one even close.
Does, you know, it's well known that strength training and exercise helps with your confidence and your abilities in other aspects of life, right? You're stuck in traffic, things are hard at work. Well, you train to do hard things regularly for recreation, so you can deal with those things better than maybe untrained people can. Do you Would you say that the strength that you've amassed and the things you've done have helped you in your daily life, kind of like that? Like if you had to do a job interview or do something socially difficult, that your training helps you outside of the gym like that?
For sure. And anyone who knows me outside of just the gym and life in general, I talk about winning so often. And I think it's because of things like this, just competing and especially with weightlifting, it being an individual sport. Um, Not many people know what it feels like to, I think winning itself is a kind of a subjective term. You can like have daily wins and training wins and actual wins at competition, but just individual wins and surpassing your own expectations, what you thought you could do on such a regular basis, it makes everything else feel like nothing.
Yeah, it does. It changes your whole mindset, right? And
Yeah.
I think it's something that never really leaves you. I was just mentioning to you that on Saturday, I got home and I had a swim session in an hour after I got home, and I wanted to not go. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I already went in 4 times earlier in the week, and I on Monday after Shaaf's meet, I swam a half mile for the first time ever in my life, and I'm like, you know what? I can give myself a treat. I can be okay. I can not go. And I just wanted to sit down and close my eyes because I literally could have come home and fallen asleep. Like
Yeah.
it was a long morning. And I was like, you know what? Stop. Don't be like this, James. I use harsher words, but
Yeah.
so I got myself, dressed. I went to the pool. I got ready. And then as I was getting into the pool, I was like, I am so glad I came here. Like as soon as the water hit my body, because like sometimes the hardest part of training is just getting to training, right? All day you're like, I don't want to go. I'm so tired. I'm so sore. Yeah, the excuses are piling up and they're sounding a good idea, but training also helps you to fight against those excuses. And the
Right.
more you do that, it gets easier. So I'm in the pool and I'm like, every stroke I do, I'm getting better. Like this is good for me. And afterwards, I was like, I'm so glad I went. I did not regret it at all.
Yeah. I think we just form habits in a way that, yeah, we're just used to doing hard things to maybe not even the routine of like, I go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I lift, but habits in the form of, I really don't want to do this, but it's something that I need to do. This is what I want as my end goal or as the next step. And the only way that I can get there is through these steps. So I know that I have to do it. It doesn't really matter. I don't need motivation. It's just what I do.
Yeah. And that was part of what I was telling myself. I was like, I was getting sucked into the comfort zone, into the recliner, the whole thing. And I was like, what's harder than going to the gym? Not arriving to my goals when I want to. Like I have goals and they're tied to this. And by sitting here in the chair, I'm literally telling myself they're not as important as when I originally said of when I wanted them to do. And you know how hard it's going to be being disappointed when you don't achieve your goal or in the time frame you want? That's harder. That's
Yeah.
way harder than just getting your butt to the pool or to the gym and doing another set. Because it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like maybe if I had a workout, which I don't really have a structured workout program, but maybe if at least I just got there and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to do that, but I did something. That's still better than the couch.
Yeah, for sure. It's whatever you can give that day, that moment, just give something.
Yeah. And you can surprise yourself too. I've had so many weightlifting sessions that I felt like hot garbage. And those were some of my best ones. Like I PR'd on those sessions. And those were days that I contemplated not going in at all and just being at home longer. Great. You would have been at home for an extra hour or two doing nothing.
Completely agree. Yeah. Anytime I want to skip out and I just end up home and the time passes anyway.
Yeah.
And you can either fill it with something that leads to something productive or it'll just pass. The time will just pass.
I did chug a Fit Aid. I'm like, I need some caffeine because I didn't have any coffee that morning. And I had that donut too. I'm like,
Yeah,
we gotta work out that donut. But yeah, it's just a whole different mindset. And it takes time to cultivate that mindset. It's not an overnight thing. And as coaches, we have to remember this is very hard for people just starting off, especially people who are starting off training later in life. They've had 30 years or however old they are doing it another way or simply not doing it. And now all of a sudden they're not going to have that mindset that you have on like I'm tired, I was working all day, my feet hurt, it's hot out, I'm thirsty, all these things and still show up and just put in the effort for the day. It's not easy. I thought you had something there.
no, I think that's pretty much exactly how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's okay to be selfish with it, right? A little bit.
Oh yeah.
What's that saying? Uh, uh, I don't think it's that champions are selfish, but they have to be selfish in some aspects to get the result, right? The final result.
Yeah, you're not just gonna get things handed to you. There's a like I said, time passes anyway. So you can fill your time with this or you can fill it with that. If your goal is this, then you can't do that anymore. If
Yeah,
you want to be, if you want to have the best performance, you can't go out on the weekends all the time. You can't stay up late. You can't drink, smoke, do whatever you want because at the end that's not your best performance because you didn't sacrifice the things that take away from your performance.
yeah. You're gonna have less degrees of freedom.
Yeah.
Like I used to tell people this in on ramp when we talk about nutrition. Everybody to some extent wants to look like the guy or the lady on the magazine, right? That's why they put them on there. They're like, wouldn't you like to look like this? And everyone, if they could, you know, snap their fingers, yeah, give me 6-pack abs. But it's like, do you know what they have to do to get those 6-pack abs? And of course, there's outliers. There's people that were born with 6-pack abs and genetics, all that stuff. But that still doesn't mean that they didn't have to do, or many people don't do an enormous amount of hard work and they sacrifice a lot of things. They put their food in Tupperware. They don't go to the parties. Like don't go out to the bars with their friends. And if they do, they have a glass of water. It's they're prioritizing their lifestyle more than they are the instant gratification. And that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
And they take what they need, not in a horrible way, but like I'll use myself as an example at the pool. You only get 30 minutes and then you gotta get out of there. And I'm always mindful of the clock. I don't want to run into someone else's lap time. And on Saturday, I was looking around, the pool was pretty empty, and my 30 minutes was done. And I was like, well, let me just see when the door opens and the next person comes. I'll just go down another lap. And then I kept going and I realized, all right, I don't think someone else is coming. It's Saturday. What am I just going to go home and get back on the computer or what? Why don't I just keep going for another 30 minutes? And I went for an hour because no one else was there. And I'm like, should I ask the lifeguard? Is this okay? Like my, cause they're very strict about it. And I'm like, I don't want to, get in trouble or
Right.
anything. And I also, as someone who works at a gym and all that stuff, I want to be respectful, of the whole process. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep going. Forget it. Like, if it's a huge problem, I'm sure the kid will get up and be like, sir, you're over your 30 minutes. So I just kept going, and I ended up doing the mile total with all of my different strokes. And I've never done that before. So had I not been like, I'm gonna take more time because the opportunity presented itself, I wouldn't have been able to do something I've never done before, like in my life. I've never had a reason to swim a mile.
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, this is awesome. And I did not regret it again. I'm like, I feel great. And now that's my Saturday plan. Like, I'm gonna be sharking for open lanes because I see people doing it now where they'll get in early and start warming up, and then they'll bounce to their actual lane because someone else will come.
Hmm.
And so I'm starting to learn the tricks of the pool, of like that, all the games that these people play. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I want in on this game now. It's kind of cool.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, awesome stuff to think about. Uh, Congrats again to Shaaf and to everybody down in New York City. That was the beginning of our conversation with this, so we'll close it off there. Uh, we have another episode 25, that uh we're having issues with. It's on Spotify, and it's in video form and audio form, but we got flagged by YouTube for content stuff because of all the videos that we were showing
Right.
of our top 5 sports moments. I've disputed all of the things, so we'll see if maybe that helps us out. But right now, episode 25 is not on YouTube, but you can find it on Spotify. And it's kind of funny because I went and I watched the Rafael Nadal match with Roger Federer.
Yeah.
Everything that we talked about is on YouTube in full. So
Right.
I watched that match, and that was awesome. I started today watching Andre Agassi versus Marcos Baghdatis. That was his second to last match. And I have it in my queue. I want to watch Kobe's last game because that'll be the first basketball game I probably ever watched. So not a bad one probably to start with. And I want to watch the UFC fight, and I want to watch a lot of swimming too, because of course I'm getting into swimming. So
Yeah.
part of the fun now is going through watching all of those things like in full, especially the ones that I didn't know about because you told me about them. So yeah, that's what's going on with episode 25. During that episode, you and I had a discussion about going hot out of the gate, whether it be in a sports performance or in a workout. And we had made a goal to maybe we would encourage people to like, hey, let's not set like, hey, gonna do 3 sets of 3 or 3 sets of 7 on the pull-ups. Let's just do pull-ups. Go into the workout with no game plan is sometimes a game plan, and just see what you can do. So I was able to accomplish that goal, Miguel. It was on the 100 burpee workout. Easy
Uh,
one.
oh yeah. I've heard stories of people talking about that 100 burpee workout.
Yeah. It was an easy one to do because one movement, it should be fast. It should be a sprint. So I told people, I'm like, don't, let's not step today. Go down and jump up, double jump. Let's not put numbers. Like I'm going to do sets of 10 with a rest. Let's not do the whiteboard if you need to, because, people forget what number they're on. Okay, cool, fine. But don't pace it or anything. I just go hot. Start doing burpees and see what you can do. And when you feel the hot breath coming up, good. That's okay. And I only taught one class. I asked the class. It was Mo, Shy, Maria, and Art. And I said, does that make you nervous? Is anyone afraid right now? And they said yes. I said, good,
Yeah.
good. That's part of it, right?
Yeah. That's like it's the open. It's when you might have an idea for an open workout, you might not have an idea, but no matter what it is, you're questioning yourself and it's going to get hard and you're not sure one what you'll do when that moment hits, because you can quit, you can slow yourself down completely, or you can hold on for as best as you can. Um, and yeah, that's nerve-wracking to know that something's going to hurt you and that you're putting yourself in that position and then you have to then deal with it.
Yeah. It's something as coaches we have to remember to like every now and then. Like this is a sprinkle it in type of thing. Like you're not going to do this every day.
Right.
Uh, you're not going to have your athletes redline every day. There's diminishing returns. But on a workout like that, that's meant to be 5 to 8 minutes. Our gym record for women is 403. And our gym record now is what did Mike get? 414, 418, something like that. Like that's a lot of work in a really short amount of time. And Maria Carzo had a goal of beating the gym record for the women, and she had never done 100 burpees before, and she got to 70 before the wall hit.
Yeah.
But it's like if she wasn't going hard, you're not going to beat the 403. The record holder is Hannah Gong, Hanking Gong. She was a member of the Barbell Club, and were you at the gym when Hannah was around?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you remember how fierce
Hmm.
she was in the workouts, and it's so memorable. I can point to the spot on the floor in the WOD room where she did her burpees. But she just hoofed through it and just held the pace, and you knew it hurt. You could see how it looked on her face, but Hannah kept going. And for Maria, at around the 70 mark, all kinds of noises are like that's the best. I love that when inaudible guttural noises are coming out of people. You know they're working hard. You know, it's a whole different experience, and you have to experience that from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great to see. I have so much fun watching our athletes fail in like a good way. Um, Even talking about Nicole, when we did the Open this year, she was my first round draft pick to have on my team. And it trails back to a workout that I was assisting you with. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was running involved, and then there were, I believe, push presses um, in between each round. It was just those two movements. And I want to say it was almost like maybe it was 15 push presses every round or like a 21-15-9 situation. And she got to the last round and she was going for like her last set of them. And you could see that they were getting hard. And instead of breaking, she continued to like push through them and she failed on her last rep. And to me, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen athletes do is just go for it and then you miss on your last rep. Not because, or like your time is a little bit slower, but because you went for it. Like she could have dropped it maybe a few reps before, taken a breath, really collected herself, and then went for it. But the bar's already in your hand. You might as well keep
Yeah.
on pushing and see how close you get. And you come short one rep that you can't fully lock out because you've used it all up. And that's great for me to see. I love seeing stuff like that.
I love it too. There's so much physiological, psychological benefit to doing just that. Okay, you missed it on the last rep. It's funny how it's always the last rep. Like if it's 21, it's gonna be rep number 21. It almost makes you think if it was 22, would I have gotten 21?
Right.
It's like I can never it's an impossible thing I think to prove, but like that's always been like my theory on like if it was one more, we could get 21, but we
Yeah.
can't because that's the mental block right off of the bat, right? The whiteboard. It's only 21 reps, you know. So I wonder if there's a way to trick yourself and be like, "Oh, it's I'm going to do 22," and then you
Yeah.
get 21. But yeah, it's so awesome. And I was searching around for different things kind of like this after we talked about it. And have you ever heard about the 40% rule for
I'm sure
for
I
the Navy
have, but
SEALs?
yeah, if you wanna
So
run that.
I got it right here because I didn't want to mess it up. The 40% rule is a mindset that Navy SEALs use to push through physical and mental pain when they think they have reached their limit. The idea is that when your mind tells you that you're done and can't go any further, you're only at about 40% your actual capacity. So you have so much more room.
Yeah.
So it's like you're like that's like probably like some David Goggins stuff, right? Like when it starts to hurt, that's when it begins. That's when you're you still have 60%.
Yeah. And I say this just in regular life too, that I try to become so delusional in my own abilities that it offsets. Because I know that your mind stops you before you really hit your peak. So if I'm able to like gaslight myself to believing that what I think my 100% is really 120%, by the time my mind stops me, I'll truly be around what my limit is. So I go into
Yeah.
things thinking that I can go way harder than I can, way heavier than I can. And then when I actually do hit that threshold, it may even out, become closer to what my actual threshold is than what my mind just stops me at.
Yeah. It's an awesome thing. You can have full control of your mind, but you have to train it, right? And you have to continually do those hard things. And even though CrossFit's hard, weightlifting's hard, if you do it long enough, you'll actually start to figure out how to make it easy. And then you start to plateau. You start to figure out, okay, whenever I see 21, I always do 777, and even if you did 11 and 10, that would be hard. But what would be better is 15 and 6,
Right.
especially if you just stopped there. I'll tell classes all the time, like, start doing them. If you stop at 17 because you can't physically hold on anymore, that's okay. Like, it's okay to have those weird numbers, but maybe as human beings, we like to box things with perfect bows on them. Like, well, it's got to be 5, 5, 5. It can't be 4 and 6 and 5, to make 15. Did I just, yeah, okay, guys. I did it on the fly. I was like, am I doing my math right?
And
So
I know that we tell people not to go to failure a lot, but without the occasional redlining, you have no clue what your point of failure is. And sometimes people are using reference points that are so old, that are years old, months old, even like I feel like if we want to put a number to it, like every 3 months, you should almost retest where your limiters are and really find out what things feel like. Every now and then I'll just hop up on a pull-up bar and see how many unbroken pull-ups I can do while keeping my form decent. Just to know that if the time ever came up, I know I can hit a set of this whenever I want.
yeah, it's good practice to have, otherwise you get, you know, we see it all the time. Anytime barbell workout comes out, there's specific weights that always go on the bar. Like, no matter what it says, it could say 305 pounds for women, 55 pounds is always on this person's bar. Like, so you have to try to get them to use like a little bit extra, maybe use some in between weights, because they're like, well, I don't know about 75. And I'm like, but 70 is okay too. Like, we have some
Right.
in between weights. We can ramp this up over time. So like, that's our job as coaches. And I think that we might sometimes get too comfortable being like, okay, for the set of pull-ups, you're trying to get it done in 1 to 3 sets. But maybe what we have to do as well is maybe say 1 to 3 sets doesn't mean it has to be broken up perfectly this way. And the closer you can get to one is also good. And that means you might want to try to do it, because you've experienced this. People start to get afraid of like, oh, I don't want to waste any energy. I need to have my energy for the workout. That's when we first started doing practice rounds. That's what people used to say. Oh, we got to do the practice round. Well, how am I supposed to do the workout? By doing the workout. Like, if it imagine the workout was 7 rounds instead of 6, and we're doing one right now,
Yeah.
so if it was 1 round more, would you not be able to do the workout? It's just uh we need to keep pushing people to do a variety of things, and again, it changes day to day.
Yeah. And I think the practice round as well, a mindset going into it is to complete the practice round at the intensity that you would complete the actual workout. Or else
Yeah.
what's the point? You can't feel if that weight is too light or too heavy because you're just kind of going through the motions. Um, when I ran track, our coach used to say to us on meet days, everyone kind of had to warm up on their own. Um, and he used to say, when he sees us on the line, on the start line, we should be almost drenched in sweat because you warm up so hard because you have to hit a certain point of intensity in the workout. So you don't want to be hit by a truck in the middle of a race because your heart's beating so fast and it went from 0 to 100 there. So you want to use your practice round, your warm up to get you to that point where then you can now hit that high intensity.
Yeah, I agree. And sandbagging the practice round or even the warm-ups, when we're like all the things that we're doing, like, if we're doing, push-ups with a downward dog for 30 seconds, you'll see people kind of just like rest on the floor and they're like, I'm gonna let some time tick by. So it's like, great, you did 2 of them, Miguel did 8 of them at a decent pace. Who's getting more out of it? Miguel's getting more out of it. His calves are more stretched out, his back, his shoulders. He's getting his pressing muscles warmed up. That's why we did it. I know sometimes we don't put numbers on everything. Maybe that's something we need to do a little better on. Like, hey, we're gonna go for 30 seconds, and I want you to get around 5 or 6 of these
Right.
versus like just go. But I'm also okay with people holding the stretch part. But the thing that I hate is when they're just hanging out on the floor, just
Yeah.
clearly waiting for it to go by. And sandbagging the practice round, I'm like, well, hey, I don't want to waste my pull-ups. I only have so many of them. Then maybe the pull-up amount in the workout is too many. You know, that amount in the workout is meant for someone who is able to do all of this. So if your pull-ups are so sensitive that if we do any amount of practicing before the workout, that they're going to magically disappear during round 3, you don't got as good a pull-ups this week as you have, and you should probably scale the number down. All right,
Right.
it's 5 rounds of 10. Do 5 rounds of 6 or 7, bump down the volume a little bit so you can get it done in 1 to 2 sets and hang on to try to do it in 1. And then let's do the practice round too.
Yeah. And I think it's only going to benefit everyone if they start going out a little bit hotter. I think because of the way that CrossFit started, it kind of started as everyone maybe going out very hot every single workout, redlining. They had like, was it Pukey the clown was like the little mascot
Yep. There
because
was
everyone was
Pukey, and there was also these workouts that were like pain storms that were like long, everything in the kitchen sink, horrible, horrific workouts. And there were a lot of things back then that they've faded away.
right.
And because the culture has changed a little bit, but I don't necessarily think for the better. Like I think of course, a lot of that stuff, of course, like let's fit it in an hour in a class and stuff like that. But I know Josh has been going back and doing some of those workouts on his own,
Yeah.
and he's been getting a lot out of it, getting his butt kicked, but getting a lot out of it.
Yeah, even thinking about how CrossFit as a class workout is separating itself from like the CrossFit Games or even the idea of like forging elite fitness. And is it becoming maybe too casual now?
Is
Like
it
every
becoming
now and
too
then,
Orange Theory, too whatever,
yeah, it's great to just get a good workout in, but the goal is kind of to progress. Or I would say not stopping yourself from progressing. It's okay to be fine with where you're at, but if you're doing everything the right way, you're going to get better with time. So not putting limiters on yourself because you don't want to get to that next step. If you
yeah.
always do ring rows or adjustable pull-up bar pull-ups, the step that is to follow or the end goal is to get pull-ups. And it's okay if it takes you a while or if you are stuck at a certain point. but you shouldn't be holding yourself back from attempting them because you're comfortable with your scaling option.
Yeah, don't be married to your scaling option. Oh, this is it, ring rows every single time. It's the most fun one. All these things. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, I mean, one, I've never experienced Orange Theory. I have never been in Orange Theory gym. I've seen videos, I've read about it. And I am a CrossFit elitist. Okay. Of course, my flag is firmly planted over here. We are better, in my opinion. I'm sure other people feel differently. But now we want all of it though. We want good coaching. We want to be safe in our workouts. There are going to be days that we take it easy. There are going to be different types of intensities that we see in the programming. But then there's going to be days where we go all out, and you're drooling in during a workout and you're making noises that you've never made before. That's all part of it, different grips, different surfaces, different temperatures. We're trying to train for the unknown and the unknowable. And sometimes I worry that that's kind of going away a little bit. It's too knowable, it's too known, it's too convenient all the time. Like
Yeah.
everybody gets their own barbell. Everybody gets this, everybody gets that. Everybody's scattered around the room with their own squat rack, and lately I've been trying to get everybody, all right, let's partner up, let's all be on this side, uh because sometimes maybe CrossFit as a whole, of course, but if I think about our gym specifically, we're very blessed with space and equipment. So sometimes abundance makes you soft in some ways. So if we were a gym that didn't have it and we were just the size of one racquetball court, we'd have to get more creative as coaches, and athletes would have to experience things a little bit of a different way. I don't know. What do you think about that? Does that tie into this at all?
Yeah, I for sure. And I think that even goes into yesterday's workout with more partner workouts. Having to pair with someone who's better than you and you only get one kettlebell, you only get one dumbbell, you only get one box. Um, it forces you to make a decision. Um, are you going to not necessarily hold that person back, but maybe if you are by yourself, you would go, I'll just go light wall ball today. But you know that they would typically go heavier. And sometimes we scale ourselves not just in relation to what's on the whiteboard, but to other athletes in class, where we know if this person does 135, I would typically do 95 or 115. But if you're forced to pair up with them, are you going to switch weights every time, or are you going to try to rise to the occasion?
Yeah. And that goes both ways, right? Maybe you're the chronic going too heavy person. And that's why you don't get a lot out of things. Because as you know, if you go too heavy and you rest more often because it's too much, the intensity goes down that way too. It's kind of a two-way street. So maybe you always go 20-pound wall ball because you're a big guy and you're like, yeah, the other guys are doing 20-pound wall ball. But now you're partnering up with James McDermott and he needs a 14-pound ball and he can't go the other way. So now you do the 14 and you do more reps in a row than you normally would have. And you're like, whoa, this is hard. It's just it's a two-way street, and it's very individual. And I guess in this situation, pairing dependent,
Yeah.
but it's something to think about, where okay, it's like you said it in the workout. If you go with the lighter ball, go faster.
Yeah. It's very simple. CrossFit is very easy in that you can make it easier on yourself, but going lighter doesn't necessarily make it easier. Then you can always just go faster or go longer.
Yeah. I remember at one of the level ones, Austin Maliello gave a big speech on this, and it was much longer. It was like a 5-minute lecturing slash scolding slash, it's been on his mind, and he's getting it off his chest right now to a captive audience, and he's just like, if you're doing singles, you're making it easy. You know, if you go 50 pounds lighter and you do all 30 of them in a row, that's hard. And he's like, I think that's better, and I think that's more respectable than you just trugging along and doing 30 horrible reps and resting often versus holding on to at 135 versus holding on to a 95-pound bar and doing them all in a row. I think that's impressive. Like
Yeah.
if we're talking about grace. So, and it was just funny because that reminded me of that rant. I don't, that wasn't your level one. I believe that was Josh and Nate's and Will Cardona's level one
Mm.
back then. That was 2019. That was just before the world changed.
Yeah.
Memorial Day weekend, 2019. But yeah, it's true. It's so true. It's like you can, if you're like, I'm an RX athlete, you can actually be an RX athlete and make all your workouts easier because you're going to do single reps, because you're going to over game it and break things up into such minutia sets, and as opposed to the person that's scaling it and they're blasting through it,
Yeah.
getting done 3 minutes faster than you are,
Yeah.
I think, do you think, one, I think, we have a lot of power at the whiteboard to set this standard, and explain things on what we're really aiming for. And sometimes we do, sometimes there's a lot to talk about and to get to. But maybe that's the next goal for this next week, is to iron in or dial into more of those things. But do you think the open feeds into this a little bit? I've had this conversation with some people and I'm like, this workout is not your Olympics. This workout is not the open. This is training right now. And training is a lot different than competition. But people start, because I think of the open and also local competitions, they start to get into this mindset of like, I need to do every workout like that.
Mm.
And if we look at weightlifting, yes, we have our heavy day where we do the full lifts because we need to touch them. But so much of our training wouldn't count as competition training. We're doing complexes, pauses, hangs, all these things. Yeah, they're all things that are close to the snatch and a clean and jerk, but they're really not. You can make an argument that a high hang snatch is not a snatch. Like there's one thing that's the snatch.
Right.
It's thing from the floor up overhead, and that's the gold standard in competition, even though you can power snatch if you want to, or split snatch. But the other things, those are strength exercises and drills that either help you get better at technique for the snatch or help you get stronger in a position for the snatch. It's kind of like if you want to improve your bar muscle ups, well, you might have to work on some transition drills. Is it very close to looking like a bar muscle up? Yeah, but is it a bar muscle up? No. It's just something that feeds into the progression to get you better at the final thing. So I wonder sometimes if people are using competition and these online things and it's taking over their training and they're not letting training be training. And that's why you're not making progress.
I kind of see it as a way, like when the open comes around and they reveal whatever the scaling options are. And because it's the open and you don't want to get no reps at a certain movement, you might have to scale it to this thing. And then in the following weeks after the open, people continue to use those scaling options because they don't want to try, or they can't really attempt, because if it was an open workout, you can't scale down the reps. You have to do this or you have to do this. And yeah, I think like what you're saying, everyday class can be training. So maybe today you're working on your pull-ups. So today, maybe drop the overall volume of the pull-ups down, but see how many, strict pull-ups you can get during this workout, and then go harder on the other implements because you know that you're working on the pull-ups, or, something with the barbell as well. Try to see how long you can hold on to the barbell today, or things like that.
Yeah. I think this is where the quote art of coaching comes into play on changing people's mindsets and knowing your athletes enough to modify things for them to get the training stimulus of the day and also keep the reins on them so that the cart isn't getting ahead of the horse, so to say. And everybody gets ramped up during the open. So again, it goes back to understanding time and place when you're coaching and what you're trying to do today. Yes, okay, during the open, it's, how are we going to break this up? How are we going to get the best score possible? How are we going to transition? All that stuff. And then there's other times where it's like, does the rower need to be under the pull-up bar? Is that helping anything today? if you're at the top of the leaderboard, or if you finish this workout 5 seconds faster, is that really translating to anything? Probably not, you know? So it's like, is it okay if you walk from here to here? Yes, it is. And then as a coach, maybe you're like, okay, we have a longer transition. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take 2 breaths by the time before you get to the pull-up bar. So like,
Right.
it's also comes back to like, give them something to do during that time. And then that's how you add value to it, right? If I'm just like, no, we got to have the rowers over here and your pull-up bars over there for safety reasons. Well, you're like, well, it's going to slow down my time. And now you're bummed out, because you're in that competition mindset. But if I'm like, hey, Miguel, I want you to take 3 deep breaths by the time you get there, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And I want you to visualize what you're going to do on that pull-up bar. And it's like, that's coaching. That's way better than just like, like it has to be this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you
And I
have you
think
tried anything like that yet?
I I use certain strategies for myself. I like to count my rests, just to keep them consistent. So if I am breaking things up, and it is especially in a tougher part of a workout where you're really just trying to hold on, I like to count how long I'm taking to rest out loud. And I think that helps where if you put your head down, you take a step back, it feels like all your rests are the same, but you look up and that first rest was 15 seconds. This one has already been 30 seconds have passed by. If you allow yourself to look at the clock and count it out loud, or like you're saying, the same thing with like take 2 breaths, or maybe take a step back and then take a step forward, never take more than 2 steps back.
Yeah.
Things like that can really just kind of put you in a different mindset for a workout or training for when you get to a competition, or just overall you're just seeing what your capacity really is.
Yeah. And I think that's way more productive if you are someone who wants to be a competitor than treating every training workout like it's an event where like, how are we going to game this? Because it used to be before your time, people would do workouts and their hands would be all the way out here on handstand push-ups and it's like they're literally trying to win this workout having done no handstand push-ups and having not developed their handstand push-ups at all. And it was such a huge problem. And then CrossFit dropped the hammer and they're like, hey, you have to measure this little box,
Yeah.
put your hands. And everybody was so angry because they hadn't been training their handstand push-ups. So it's like, I remember the first time that happened, everybody was butthurt about it. And I was like, let's go. Because, but then even then, you have the tape. People are like, well, can I put like, they're
Yeah.
still focusing on the stupidest things on how they can get away with something like it matters. It's like, are you fit or not? You're not going to beat Tia with like if your pinkies are over or not.
Right.
Well, and I don't think, I mean, maybe she is, but I don't think those top people think about that stuff. I think maybe they do some of it, but I think their engines are so big and they're so crazy fit and strong that I think they're like, yeah, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna get up there. Like the person over here is counting. All right, I'm gonna do 3 pull-ups, then this guy got to keep him alive. And Tia's like, I'll just do all 50, no problem. And then
Yeah.
if she comes off during it, nope, she stays calm, she chalks and then does it. It's like, I'm almost amazed at how, like, it doesn't seem like anyone, the other competitors don't study them, but maybe they do, but it just doesn't seem like it from their actions.
Hmm.
I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think people definitely have tried, but some people are just on different levels. You can study them, you can see what they do all you want, but you're not them.
Yeah. Like you can watch all the game tape of Jordan you want, but when he's on the court with you, good luck,
Yeah. And there may be some things that you can pull out of it. Like I've definitely pulled the counting my rest from other people that I've seen. And you can pull out different things to help you, but overall you can't watch film on like oh, this is how she transitioned and went over. So I just have to do all 50 of my pull-ups unbroken, then I'll transition this way. And
Yeah.
it's just not gonna work out that way.
Yeah, it's one thing when you're like trying to follow what the goat does,
Yeah.
but you can still learn a lot from it. And I think it's like at the top level, it's good for those games athletes to be aware of that. But for all the way down, like in just the open level, it's like there's so many people that it's like, why are you worrying about that? Like you're worrying more about where to put your hands on the handstand pushup than what you're eating for dinner and what your nutrition looks like, how much sleep you're getting, all these way more important things. And it's like you should be you're worrying about the wrong things right now. You're
Yeah.
prioritizing seconds on the thing for the gym leaderboard, and you've developed nothing. And it's like you've seen that thing where like the meme or people post in the comments on videos, they're like, and not one pull-up was done today,
Yeah.
so it's like it's like, yeah, you didn't do one pull-up, you would have gotten so much of a better stimulus for the long run if instead of doing 20 you did 8 and they were all for full range of motion versus doing 20 and they're all right here. And you didn't,
Yeah.
you really, you've heard me say this in class. Don't, I'm trying to remember what I say. Uh, don't complete the range of motion for the sake of completing the range of motion. Like you want to do it the right way. Like you can get to A to B a lot of ways. Like get there the most, you know, technically sound way possible, not necessarily the most time efficient way possible,
Right. Yeah.
because they don't always feed into one another. I'm trying to remember where we started this conversation.
It was about the redlining and just, yeah, how people can train and progressing in CrossFit just through class. Or I even talk to people about taking time outside of class to work on your skills and develop things, because that's the way that it worked for me. Class is great, but if you really want to slow things down, work on specific pieces, you're going to have to also take some time outside of class.
Yeah. It's kind of like what we were doing on Saturday, with the bar muscle up stuff. You know,
Yeah.
those are those are drills that you could focus on for yourself, but also we were kind of going over like an idea of a different progression, in class. But we only ever have like 10, 12 minutes for a thing at a time. If you really want to get good with bar muscle ups, it's like, okay, some of those things that you're learning in class, ask coach, hey, when I come in tomorrow, like, how many of these should I do? Like, like a jump rope is a perfect example. You're at the gym 10 minutes early. That's 10 minutes of double under practice you could have under your belt. And you'd be surprised how quickly double unders come when you spend time
Yeah.
with the rope. Um, if you only ever do double unders when they happen to pop up in the programming, there's some weeks where we won't have any double unders. And so what are you supposed to do then?
Yeah. Even like the burpee box jump overs that we had in yesterday's workout. There are certain ways to make it more efficient. We always talk about the turn maybe in the air or on the box as you dismount on the other side. But that's also something that you can work out. Like that's a skill. The amount of steps that you take to make it more efficient, um, how you jump, how you land is all things that you can work on outside of class as well to really refine that. My box step ups, I now have like a way that I step so that it's more efficient. So I'm not, double stepping on the floor and trying to figure out which foot goes up next. I skills that I've had to watch other people do or kind of figure out my own way, but you got to take the time outside of class to kind of figure that out.
It was funny during that workout when you were demoing the burpee box jump. So someone made a noise or like chuckled or something because like when you jump on the box, it doesn't look like how when everybody else jumps on the box. It's like it's almost like zero gravity. Like you're like floating through the air and land softly with straight legs and it like looks fast and powerful and smooth all in the same time. And so someone like chuckled and I'm like, oh yeah, I know why you're laughing
Yeah.
right now.
Well, that's also something that I tell them where I've talked about this with people before, coaches that classes that I've coached, where that's also something that I've had to work on and like watch other people do and with jumping. And I I say I try not to jump on the box. I try to land on the box where I think because people try to jump on the box, they kick down so hard and there's a whole timing thing that, yeah, if you take time outside of class and you really try to figure out the mechanics of it, that you'll get a lot smoother with it.
Yeah. And we know it's hard. Work a full-time job, got to get home for dinner.
Yeah.
You've allotted an hour, to get your workout in. Like for me, during the week, 30 minutes, and I'm getting out of there. I'm like, one, there's rules, but two, I have stuff to do.
Yeah.
So like I gotta get over there, I gotta get here, I gotta shower, and then I gotta get on a computer and start doing stuff. So it's like I totally get it. But when there's time, a Saturday, bring your jump rope, do some stuff. And I would say ask questions too. Like, hey, because maybe you find goals within the movements of the workout. Like, hey, you know what? I really would like to get a bar muscle up. And then you talk to a coach and then you have a little plan and you do it once a week and you start spending time where you can find time. And that's how you get better. And that starts to also change your mindset on the whole thing. You're like, you know what? It is worth it to me and important to me to steal back another 30 minutes out of my week on this day to hang out after the workout, no matter what we do, and just do these drills.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I have to do another workout. Like I'm just going to practice these things, which is like okay, all right, it is a workout but like like another metcon. Sometimes people start to think that if they want to get better, they have to do a lot more work.
Hmm.
It has to be strength in a metcon every day. We're not doing enough work. Or we've had people who try to do CrossFit in the morning and then try to do CrossFit in the evening, and that's not going to work out either. Um, so you don't need double days. You don't need anything like that. You just need to change your mindset a little bit and then start putting in that work. And then more than likely, all roads will somehow lead back to nutrition if you really, really want to make
Yeah. That's always
progress.
like the next level of, all right, if I take it a little bit more seriously, I'll have to start doing this. But yeah.
It's funny how you said it's the next level and it's the first level
Well, yeah, it's
in
what
the
everyone
hierarchy.
tries to skip over.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's easy to if you got the hierarchy of theoretical development of an athlete. It's what's it? Nutrition, metcon, gymnastics, weights, and then sport. And everyone I used to say in on ramp likes to flip it over, you
Yeah.
know. So it's the base is sport, and then the next up from that is weights because that's fun. Then gymnastic stuff, and then metcon, and then nutrition is the tiny part of the
Yeah.
pie. So yeah, it's just how it goes, but that's why we're here to help people flip it back over and put emphasis on different things.
Yeah.
And sometimes it comes down to, you know, this is something else we've been talking about a lot is telling people versus asking people, hey, today, Miguel, I want you to do 30 inches on the box, but I want to cut down the reps to this, and then I want you to focus on this for your pull-ups. So it's like telling you what your workout is. I did that the other day with our new guy, Pavan. I had his workout written on the whiteboard for Daniel before he even got there.
Hmm.
And then he had a whiteboard and he was writing it down. He's like, all right, what should I do? And I'm like, I already got it. Because I already knew what he was going to do. Like
Right.
you're and that way there's no question. And I didn't ask him. I'm like, hey, how many ring rows do you want to do? What are you thinking about for the runs? I'm like, this, doing this. And then even with that, he's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, it'll be enough. It'll be
Yeah.
well, which he thought it was too much, but I'm like, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. We're gonna do it. But it's like it's good to tell people versus asking them because if you keep it open ended, they don't know.
Hmm.
Like you've probably thought about it more during the day than they have. And you had an example of that a bunch of Saturdays ago with what was it, Nicole or Sarah Hume?
I'm not sure.
We were doing an interval workout, I believe, where it was running, rowing, and kettlebell swings, something like that.
Yeah.
And you had to get the
Oh
work
no,
done.
it was Celestino.
Oh, Celestino. Okay.
Yeah. With
Eh,
the running. Um, and the runs started to become slower over time and towards the end of the intervals. And it was kind of taking away from the rest of the workout. Um, and in my head, I assumed that as that started to happen, that you would, I would personally scale at that point and maybe turn, I can't remember exactly what it was, but maybe turn an 800 to a 600 or a 400 and see how that goes.
I got it right here.
Okay.
So the workout, 2 rounds, 3 minutes on each exercise, toes to bar, kettlebell swings, calorie row. So you do 3 minutes of max reps on the toes to bar, 3 minutes max reps on kettlebell swing, 3 minutes max reps on the rower. But you had to start each interval with a 400-meter run.
Mm,
And what started to happen is people were slowing way down on the run and they were getting back with like 15 seconds left to do toes to
yeah.
bar. And you had given them different instructions on like, hey, the 400-meter run should take you 2 minutes or less, so you at least have a minute to spend with the other implement. And then some people, the wheels just kind of fell off in that second round.
Yeah. And I kind of had to learn through that as an athlete, it's hard to scale in the middle of a workout. Almost not, I wouldn't say 100% a pride thing, but you kind of don't want to be, as an athlete, the one to pull yourself back. Sometimes you do need your coach to be the one to go up to you and almost give you permission to scale it because there's like you almost feel bad that you kind of chose wrong. And
And
you don't want to just
sometimes
switch it up.
sometimes you might even not be aware that this, because you're under stress and you don't even realize, oh, I had no time to do that, and
Yeah.
he said all the way back at the top of the hour I needed a minute. You just don't even realize it. Or yeah, exactly what you just said. And I think it was either Sarah or Nicole was also in the same boat as
Yeah,
Celestino.
and she ended up scaling.
Yep.
And she asked me if it was okay if she did, and I was like, "Oh yeah, for sure."
And
Um,
she heard us talking about it in the hallway, and she said, I I would have appreciated it if you would have told me.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
'Cause-
so I learned from there that there are times where you kind of just have to tell people. And I covered one of your classes. I think it was just the 800-meter run repeats. I think it was like 6 rounds. And it was good to have that experience first because in that workout, I had to pull people back and just tell them this next interval, run this amount. I had to
yeah.
scale people up as well, where they were getting back too quickly. And I had to go, this next round, run this amount. I'll
Yeah.
bargain with you. If you can't hit it within this certain time, then we can go back down to what you were at. But for
And
now,
that's
go do
fantastic,
this.
because remember, it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
It's not always just down. Sometimes it's up or trying to get to the middle. So that's fantastic that you were doing it. I think too many times we think about scaling as going down,
Right.
you know, but even going quote RX plus is scaling to it. Like the workout is this, if you change it, you're modifying something and it's no
Yeah.
longer the workout. So go scaling up is also still scaling, and it's also appropriate in a lot of situations. I know sometimes we joke around a lot, like Mike should be doing muscle ups or something,
Yeah.
but there have been times where I've had him do muscle ups and everybody else is doing something else, pull ups or dips.
Yeah.
And I know it's because he likes them. He likes to do them. But two, it's like, why not? Like, why not scale it up the other way? And he'll get even more out of this. And then it's like, can you do all 7 muscle ups in a row versus having done 21 pull-ups?
Yeah.
I think you were in a class where we had Mike do um, muscle ups instead of pull-ups one day, or dips. It was
Yeah.
one of
I
those
think
two.
so. Or even like we talked about me and doing box jumps, like I know there are some workouts where both men and women have a 20-inch box, and we also have a limited amount of boxes. So if everyone's using 20, I have no issue going 24 because I know box jumps are fairly easy to me. So that would be a good example of that. But yeah, going back to the telling athletes, it's the everyone has free will. So you can tell them and they still might do whatever they want, but it's good. It's going back to the redlining or going out a little bit hotter than you think. Um, telling Mo to go uh to aim for 15 in a set of 21 thrusters instead of going 7-7-7. It was the same deal where not that I hate 7-7-7, but I really wanted to see him past that threshold. So I straight up just told him, do 15, go for as many as you can, but do this. Don't break it up 7-7-7 this time. Do 15 if you can.
Yeah. And well, it's like just like you don't want to be married to your scaling option, don't be married to the numbers either. When every time you see something, you always do, so we mentioned before those numbers.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're telling people to do something, maybe the language of how you tell them and approach it too. Like if you're like wishy-washy, you're like, James, I think you should do, a lighter ball when I instead of being like, hey James, do me a favor, put that ball away and go grab this one.
Yeah.
Like one you just asked me to do you a favor. So
Hmm.
now am I not going to do you a favor? Like so it's like just like adding in like those little words in there. Um so I've said to people, would you kindly do
Mm.
this? Is like what are you like? So it's like just the way you phrase things. And also I like that one. I don't know if you have you ever played the game BioShock?
I know of it for sure.
So spoilers, in BioShock, you get missions the whole way through, and the guy on the other end of the phone always says, "Would you kindly go and
Mm.
do this?" And then you find out that you're actually some science experiment, and "Would you kindly" is the trigger word to get you to go kill people. And so he's like, every time he says, "Would you kindly," so then he's like, "Would you kindly put down your gun?" And you're like, "Why can't I kill him?" And it's like this whole big thing. So I just like to mix that in there and say that to people. I'm slowly conditioning people to
Right.
do what I want them to do. But so yeah, it's fun to think about, and it's all part of the art of coaching, and it's different every day, and it's the art of being an athlete. Being an athlete, people like to talk about the art of being a coach. Being an athlete is a practice all in itself, right? You have to learn how to do that, and there's oftentimes I think about I'm like, why aren't things going well in this class? When I was like, I have to teach you how to be an athlete, like how to do this thing, how to like go get your box and put it here and think about these things. Like I
Yeah.
can't do all the thinking for you.
Yeah. Completely agree.
Yeah. Well, any other thoughts on the topics here for the day? Telling versus asking, redlining, the whole thing.
Yeah. I
I
think it
feel like
all,
I feel like everything's kind of tied into one another.
yeah. My biggest thing, and it's been for me as an athlete as well, just this year is to surpass what you think you're capable of. Um, going to Shaaf hitting the 300-pound clean and jerk. Now that limiter has been reached, now continue to progress. You kind of had a wall there. You've now broken through. Allow yourself now to leave that behind. Same thing with athletes and whatever you use to limit yourself and within workouts, maybe one time add in 5 more pounds to what you usually scale to. And now you know that you can go 5 more pounds heavier. And it opens a whole new door, a whole new way of thinking as an athlete. And yeah, if the last topic, me telling you to, okay, you grabbed a 25-pound dumbbell. I tell you to grab a 30 or a 35. Now you know that you can do that. And it's a whole different mindset.
Yeah. And you have to be okay with, as well as the athlete and the coach, that it's not always going to be successful,
Right.
but we're always trying to figure things out. We're always trying something new, you know. If you tell Mo to go for 15 thrusters, but he doesn't get there, well, we at least tried and we got better for trying, right?
Yeah.
You know, like I'll use myself as an example. End of the year, I have a giant career goal of the CrossFit level 4, right? I don't know if I'm going to pass it. I will hope I do. I'm going to do my best, but all the things that I'm doing along the way are going to make me a better coach. Like all of the practicing the methods, all of the reading things, videos, put myself out there. You know, I've reached out to local gyms. Hey, can I come and coach a class at your gym with athletes I don't know in a space that I'm not comfortable with? Because I realized at Albany CrossFit, I could coach class all across my eyes closed, Miguel. You know, I'll tell you exactly where everything needs to go. I
Yeah.
remember where people have done so many things. I just told you, Hannah Gong set the record for women's burpees, 100 burpees, back in like 2015. I'll show you the spot she was in. I guarantee you that was the spot she was in.
Yeah.
I'm so that's you know, even though I'm always trying my best, I'm way too comfortable there. So I want to go to Frank's gym out in Binghamton and coach in that environment. And even if I don't pass the level 4, am I going to be a better coach for doing all these things and stepping outside my comfort zone and getting along the way? It's I may not get 50 pull-ups unbroken, but I went from 20 to 37 in that time. If we're going to try to like have a comparison.
Yeah.
So you get better on the journey along the way. It's not always about the end result. Of course, 137 kilos is what we want, but I might miss the lockout, you
Yeah.
know, and get the not the letter in the email that I want. But am I going to try again too? Yeah. And am I going to go back to the training hall, so to say, way harder? Yeah. You know, but so it's like that's all. I feel like it's like a dual thing, you know, coach, athlete, or just anything. If you're trying to be the best banker or real estate agent or something out there, you know, you want to be the top of your field, you got to do these things, right? And you have to be okay with the failure and put in the work along the way.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good talk today, Miguel.
Yeah.
Um, any closing thoughts for me? I'll say those are my closing thoughts. So any
Yeah,
closing thoughts, Miguel?
I would say that's overall the idea that we were looking for here.
Yeah, great. Well, hopefully episode 25 comes out of YouTube jail. we'll we'll
Well, I mean,
see.
we got the links in Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well, so you can always just click
Yep.
on them and listen along, watch
Yep, yep.
along.
Yep, you can watch along, which the video I'm pretty sure the video works in Spotify. Spotify doesn't have like this AI that looks
Hmm.
through your video and like it was crazy how it knew. Like because it's a Zoom video and it was able to read the video and be like, you took this from our site and it had the timestamps on when we played the video and some kind of video code from the YouTube video. Like it
Yeah.
knew everything. And they were like, this is no strikes against your channel. Nothing's gonna happen. It's just your video is blocked and you can dispute it. So I put in like 15 disputes, you know, because I my dispute was it's we gave commentary over it, you
Right.
know, because
Yeah.
like you see a million videos like this all over,
Yeah.
you know. I just don't know the tricks yet to
Hmm.
get around it. So we'll see what happens. If not, we'll have this one up soon, and then we're gonna try to go live next week on the YouTube channel too. And we'll see if people will tune in, ask questions,
Yeah.
and hopefully say nice things. Don't say mean things, or we just won't acknowledge them. Oh,
Right.
awesome. Well, Miguel, where can people follow you?
On Instagram at couldn't be Miguel.
Great. Give Miguel a follow. Next week we'll have our Instagram tags under our name because I know how to do that in StreamYard now. Cool feature. Make sure you follow me if you want. You don't have to make sure. James A. McDermott. Follow Albany CrossFit on Instagram. Follow Albany CrossFit Barbell Club on Instagram. Follow the Barbell Strikes Back on Instagram. There's too many Instagram channels, and I have way too many of them on my phone. But thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Miguel, awesome talk. Thank you again.